I had just become Apollo's mate, and he dragged me into the training room like I was a recruit. Chapter 26. And again. Hit harder. Apollo barked, his voice echoing through the training room. Sweat cascaded down my face as I let out an exasperated sigh and struck the punching bag once more. If you're wondering what was going on, trust me, I was just as perplexed. True to his word, Apollo had roused me at an ungodly hour and practically carried me to this torture chamber he called a training room. Since it was just the two of us, it opted for a sports bra and shorts, sparing myself the worry of Apollo gouging out some poor guy's eyes for looking at me. My mate, turned drill sergeant, was pushing me beyond my limits, his face and emotionals as masked as he stood in the corner, barking orders. No breaks. Constant training. My body screamed in protest, but Apollo remained relentless. Right now, I was supposedly building up my strength, which translated to pummeling this punching bag for what felt like an eternity. As I continued to assault the innocent bag, I couldn't help but imagine it was Apollo. How satisfying would that be? His stripped, demanding persona was a far cry from the mate I knew. This Apollo took no prisoners, and I was stuck here, wishing I was back in bed, binge, watching my favorite show, wiping the river of sweat from my brow. I turned to Apollo, my voice hopeful. 5-minute break. He narrowed his eyes, his reply curt. In timing you. Thank goodness. I practically ripped off the gloves and collapsed on the floor, my body protesting every movement. It was that I was unfit, per se, but who in their right mind enjoyed hours of intense training when there were comfy beds and Netflix waiting? 5 minutes is up. Apollo's shout jolted me back to reality. Groaning internally, I picked up the gloves and resumed my assault on the bag. This time, I channeled all my frustration into each punch, imagining Apollo's face on the bag. Suddenly, the bag gave way, spilling its contents everywhere. Good. Next exercise, Apollo said, moving towards me. Wait. What? That was supposed to happen. Part of me wanted to question him, but the other part wisely kept quiet, fearing he defined an even more grueling task. Fighting stances. He explained, you're like and may already be a great fighter, but you need to be a great fighter in your human form too. Damn him, telling me I'm not a good fighter. I mumbled, my sarcasm barely concealed beneath my exhaustion. Did you hear something? Apollo asked, his voice stern. No, I replied, trying to mask my exhaustion. I want you to mimic the stances I demonstrate. Understood, he commanded. I nodded silently, desperately wishing for this grueling session to end. My body was drenched in sweat, and I longed for a refreshing shower. Apollo spent nearly an hour drilling me on fighting stances, blocks, and evasive maneuvers. Every muscle in my body screamed in protest, but I refused to show weakness. I was determined to prove my resilience. That's enough for today, Apollo finally announced. I exhaled deeply, relief washing over me. Great. See you later. As I turned to leave, already dreaming of hot water and comfortable clothes, Apollo's strong hand caught my arm, pulling me back. Where do you think you're going? He asked, his demeanor suddenly softening. A smile played on his lips as he gently tucked a stray hair behind my ear. I instinctively pushed him away, my sarcasm kicking in. Oh, now you smile. What happened to Mr. Drill Sergeant? Barking orders every time I missed the punching bag or ran to slow war. My tirade was cut short as Apollo swiftly pulled me down, both of us landing on the training mat. I gripped his shoulders, glaring at him. What was that for? To silence you. He smirked, his confidence radiating. Whatever. I'm out of here. I rolled my eyes, attempting to stand. No, you're staying right here, Apollo insisted, wrapping his strong arms around me. But I'm disgusting, I protested, acutely aware of my post-workout state. I don't mind. He shrugged, his eyes gleaming with desire. I couldn't be myself around you earlier. How would you have learned anything? Apollo sighed, his strict trainer persona melting away. What do you mean? I asked, confusion evident in my voice. If I had given in to my desires, I would have carried you upstairs the moment I saw you in that outfit. I had to become Mr. Drill Sergeant so you could actually train, he explained, his voice low and husky. So you were all serious because you were turned on. I laughed, the tension between us palpable. And always aroused around you, Apollo murmured, his lips finding my neck. My breath hitched as his kisses trailed up to meet my lips. The intensity of the kiss elicited a moan from me, allowing Apollo to deepen it. Apollo, someone might see. I panted, my resolve weakening. No one dares interrupt the king. He smirked, his dominance evident. Cocky bastard. I mumbled before Apollo captured my lips again, silencing any further protests. Apollo let out a groan against my neck, causing me to grind against him faster. If you don't want this to end up with you lying in my bed without clothes, I would stop right now. Apollo sounded like he was tortured. My mind was foggy with desire. I couldn't think straight. All I wanted was Apollo, and I wanted him now. So I paid no attention to his warning and instead grabbed his hands and placed it on my waist. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "What if I don't want to stop?" Apollo wasted no time lifting me up and almost taking the door off its hinges. Oh God. I think I awoke the beast. Dimitri, your room is fixed now, Beckett called. Apollo didn't even acknowledge his friend and instead growled. My floor is off limits. Guards moved out of the way as Apollo made his way back to our room, slamming the door shut and dropping me on the bed. I didn't even have time to dwell about what occurred here last time as Apollo looked at me with a predatory glare in his eyes. There's no going back now. You've said those words. I will take you, and I will mark you. Glad you find it funny, but we said we would meet. Remember, I'll tell the others it'll be a while. Miles grumbled before walking off. I did specifically say no one is allowed on this floor. His fault. Apollo shrugged. Fine. Let's shower. Together. I squeaked. Saves water that way. He grinned, picking me up and carrying me to the bathroom. An hour later, we were showered and ready. Obviously, Apollo delayed the process by saying he couldn't get enough of me, so we ended up spending a lot more time in the shower than needed. I was tired and sore down there, but the seriousness of the situation kept me awake. Both of us made our way, hand in hand, to his study. Finally, Miles said as soon as we walked in, "You're finally marked and mated." Olivia squealed. Yes, oh exciting. Miles rolled his eyes. This time I hit him round the head and laughed. You're only sour because you'll be the last to mate. Beckett laughed and looked at Apollo. I'm happy for you, but be careful. These girls know how to use their bodies against us. Olivia laughed and replied, I'll teach you my tricks. Lax me. Apollo just rolled his eyes and pulled me close to him. Seems like someone was extra needy today. Reese walked in with Elena. Both looked solemn. Elena glanced up at me, and her eyes narrowed before winking at me. Of course she knew. So plan? Reese asked. Yeah, plan. Miles trailed off. I glanced around at the men. All their faces had a pained look. It was clear that this was hard for them. After all, Bradley was one of them, and they all cared for him. Guys, we need to think about that little girl who was murdered. We aren't catching your friend, or your brother, Reese. We are catching a criminal who needs to pay for his crimes. I looked at the four of them. All the men looked at me before nodding. Right. First things first. I want the soldiers' training to be harsher. They have to be prepared for anything. Apollo looked at Reese. Done, Reese replied. Warn the surrounding packs. Make sure they keep a lookout. Warn them he is dangerous. Apollo looked at Miles and Beckett, who both nodded. This was probably the wrong time, but Apollo looked hot giving out orders. I think my wolf was still horny. Warn our mates backs too. I am not risking anything. Apollo added, My pack, Shit. Darius. He will not be impressed when he hears the news. Especially since I haven't told him of the events that occurred recently. We know this sick bastard, he will make the first contact. Only then will we really know what he wants. Until then, be vigilant. Our mates will stay by our sides. If you see anything suspicious, warn me immediately. Apollo warned everyone. I should go and start the training process, Reese said, standing up. Laxmi is training with me, but the others need to train too. Apollo looked at the girls. Elena and Olivia will train with me and Beckett. Luna Reese looked at Miles. They'll train Luna. Miles nodded. Our first training session went really well. Ended up with the two of us mating. I rolled my eyes. Maybe I should train with the others so there are no repeats of today. Everyone stood up and walked out of Apollo's study. I noticed Luna was looking at me. Her eyes were telling me something. Apollo, I'll meet you in a bit. Luna and I are just going to talk. I walked over to Luna. Stay on our floor. I'll go with these two to warn your pack. Apollo replied, kissing me on the forehead before leaving. When everyone was out of earshot, I dragged Luna to one of the rooms. My room reeked of sex, so it wasn't the best place for a conversation. What happened? I asked. Luna glanced at me before looking down at her feet. Did something happen? Did Miles do something? I pressed her. No, he didn't do anything. She seemed like she was sulking. Are you upset that Miles didn't do anything? I questioned yes. When I came here, I was terrified. So, he kept his distance. But now I feel this need like I have to be constantly with him. I want him to always stay by my side. The other night I tried to kiss him, but he stepped away, saying that I would regret it in the morning. Luna huffed. Luna, he is scared. Miles doesn't want to do anything that will cause you pain. He still blames himself for what happened to you. Plus, he is such a nice guy that even though he is desperate to mate with you, he'll never push you. I replied softly. You think so? HES refusing me because he is scared. Luna asked. I nodded. If you really want something out of this relationship, then tell him. Sit him down and tell him. I thought it was too soon after to be thinking like this. That's why I was ashamed to tell you. But me and my wolf, we've healed so fast since being here. Miles helped so much, always making me laugh and always respecting my space. Luna sighed. Why you would think I would judge you is beyond me. But let me tell you this. There is nothing wrong with wanting something more with your mate. Like you said, he has healed you, and you should make good memories with him. Just talk to him. He will understand. I smiled. Luna smiled back. God, that's a weight lifted off my shoulders. Now what about you? Me, I asked. You're mated lycan now. I can't believe Dimitri waited that long. Luna laughed. Well, he respected me. It feels so weird to carry his mark on me. I feel like even being away from him for 1 minute is too long. I shook my gross. Newly mated lycans. Luna playfully responded. The LLBU one day. I teased. Luna rolled her eyes and laughed. We made our way out of the room and were walking toward where Apollo was when Miles met us. Good chat? He asked, his gaze on Luna. Yep, we had a really good chat. I smirked. Luna shoved me before saying, I was thinking about training. Yeah, that's so weird. I was just going to explain to you what will happen. Miles smiled. Well, okay then. Bye, lovebirds. I yelled as Miles and Luna walked away. Chatting, Luna turned around and stuck her middle finger up. I laughed and made my way back to my room. The state of our room made me blush. Torn clothes everywhere. Sheets were a mess. I'm thinking about this afternoon, Apollo whispered, bending down and kissing my mark. When did you get back? I tried to turn around but found myself stuck in his grip. Apollo never responded but instead picked me up and threw me on the bed. Round 3. His devious smirk appeared on his face. Before I could say anything, His lips captured mine and his hand slipped down my underwear. Guess we weren't getting out of bed today. Chapter 27. 2 weeks had passed. And so far, nothing. No threatening calls. No messages. No more dead bodies. That made Apollo more on edge. In his mind, he felt as if Bradley was testing him. If he let his guard down even for a second, Bradley would attack. Needless to say, this Apollo hasn't been pleasant all the time. Mostly he supervises the training and yells. A lot. I know the pressure is getting to him. He feels responsible and doesn't want to let his people down. My life, well, it has been eventful. As soon as Darius got the phone call, he rang me up smiley. What the? Why did I get a phone call telling me to watch out for some madman? And why haven't you told me what happened? Darius sounded unimpressed. Darius, I'm sorry. It has just been crazy around here. I sighed. You know, I heard about you passing out and changing into a lycan from Stella, who heard it from Luna, and the time you went all psycho and tore some guy's arm off. Darius answered. Not my finest moment. I cringed before continuing. Look, it's been hard. 1 minute I'm a werewolf and the next I am a lycan. My head hasn't been able to wrap around the fact. And just when I get settled, something happens. You know I'm always here for you. Right. I want regular updates now, one every week. Darius demanded. Okay, Dad. I rolled my eyes even though he couldn't see. Smiley. Save that for the bedroom. Please. I heard the amusement in his voice. EWW gross. You're disgusting. I shook my head to clear that moment from my memory. Darius chuckled. Oh, Smiley. I miss you lots. I wish you were here. But I also know that you're so loved by everyone there. After all, a cool witch. You saved their king from a force mating him, yeah? I replied. You are happy there. Right. I don't care if your mate is the king. If HES making you unhappy, then it'll bring you right back here. Although I'm not too sure I want to deal with an angry king. Darius trailed off. Be quiet. I am happy. It's just this whole situation with Bradley means Apollo is more on edge. I sighed. He needs your support. Smiley. Don't forget he has the whole world on his shoulders. Some council members are just waiting for him to slip up so they remove him from the throne. Darius explained. Yeah, and when I find out who they are, my fist will meet their face. I growled. See, that's what he needs. Someone on his side for once. You guys are perfect for each other. Now look after yourself. Smiley. Darius said his goodbyes. That phone call was 5 days ago. Since then I had remained by Apollo's side while he tried his best to prove to me that he was fine. Training was awful. Although I was definitely getting better. Thankfully there was no repeats of our first training session. Apollo was a harsh trainer, but I felt myself and my lycan becoming stronger. Apollo also wanted me to resume my studies to become a pack doctor, and although I desperately wanted to, it wasn't the right time. I decided to study part-time, instead of full-time, and do online classes. It wasn't ideal, but it worked well for me because it meant that I could always be here for Apollo, and that was the most important thing. And good news. Luna and Miles' relationship had significantly improved. Now Miles was happier and no longer complaining. Well, he didn't complain as much. It was clear to see the two of them were happy. And seeing that was all I needed. After everything that happened with Luna, I just wanted her to be comfortable and happy. Luna was slowly transitioning into a lycan, which she was excited about. Miles was a little worried, probably thinking something might happen to Luna. Luna brushed aside his worries, but Miles still remained close to her. Right now I was sitting with Olivia, who was teaching me all about using my body to my advantage. I decided this lesson was needed because a certain son was touching me and always wanted me in bed. All lycans are the same. Horny bastards. That's why I decided that us ladies had to have a few tricks up our sleeves. Olivia said, You got that right. I nodded. Right. Anyway, you have to use that amazing body of yours to your advantage. It's clear Apollo is crazy for it. So you sit against him. Seduce him and leave him on edge. Don't give him the satisfaction and he'll drop down on his knees and give you whatever you want. Even if that is no sex for a few days. Olivia explained. So this knowledge is from previous experiences in guessing. I teased Olivia, who blushed bright red. Maybe, but how else was I meant to know if it worked? She pouted, causing me to laugh. Before I was able to say anything, I spotted Beckett standing behind with a devious smirk. He came behind Olivia, kicked her up and threw her over his shoulder. Sorry, gotta show my mate that my charms are irresistible. He winked at me. Olivia gasped but started giggling. Oops. Apollo joined us and looked at Beckett with a knowing look. These men and their one-track mind. You can't resist my charms either. Little one. Apollo whispered. Don't get too cocky now. It may backfire. I pushed him away. Beckett and Olivia were about to make their way upstairs when Luna and Miles made their way down. Something was different about Luna, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Wow. Congrats. Bro, you finally made it. Maybe now you'll complain less. Guess we all have Luna to thank since Jess had such a good effect on you. Everyone is so grateful. Luna. Becca teased. No way. Lou was now mated. And she was a lycan. How did it take me so long to notice that? Miles rolled his eyes and replied off. Nah, I'm gonna Olivia instead. Beckett laughed, causing Olivia to gasp in horror. He saluted and left with Olivia protesting the whole way. Luna came over to me, almost shyly, and I couldn't resist the temptation to tease her. So mated and a lycan. He sure do work fast. Lax me, Luna complained. What? As if you expected me to stay quiet. It's a golden opportunity to tease you. Plus, it's payback for all the times you teased me. I stuck my tongue out playfully. Wow, who knew the Queen was so mature? Miles rolled his eyes. Don't talk about being mature. You're the most childlike male I have ever met. I retorted. Miles' eyes wide and in shock as Apollo just laughed and patted Miles on the back. Don't mess with the Queen. Miles muttered something like, less unlearned. Count os felicitations. Apollo smiled. Congratulations. Merci mais pourquoi tu parles en français? Miles asked. Thanks, but why are you talking in French? Apollo chuckled. Regarde son visage. LS10 ray. G me. Look at her face. She is angry. I like it. To talk why nest uncompendon. LVAE tour. Miles warned. You're easing your mate. Shall kill you. I coughed really loudly, getting both men's attention. French. You know French too. I glared at Apollo. How did you know? Miles answered. I learned basic French in school. But French. I thought you only knew Italian. I threw my hands up in the air. Little witch, little one. When you've been alive for as long as we have, you have the time to learn many languages. Italian is my favorite since I am Italian, but that doesn't mean I don't speak any other languages. Apollo had a wicked grin on his face. Just as I was about to reply, Luna pulled me and whispered in my ear. Slowly, a devious smile took over my face as I turned to my mate, who now looked confused. Stay confused. Apollo, because you aren't going to know what hit you. A pain gal at Lada Kikas off KHI lava at Kaya. I smirked as both Miles and Apollo looked at each other in confusion. You messed with the wrong girl. KY hua. A pain sochiti ite. Eva lex a adi kbha ashabal sake hain. Luna stood up and shook her head. What happened? You thought only you could speak more than one language. What? What are you saying? Miles asked. K white ripple a pa kamalab ha I some h nahin sakate, kimain ky ake hoon. I dramatically said, feigning shock. Vampire deception. By Drakenesen and EY Gwet. At the undocumented changeling, and forced to cove at a low-level witch, You mean you can't understand what I am saying? Little one, please, what are you saying? Apollo looked at me. Both Luna and I glanced at each other before bursting out into fits of laughter. Mir ebha asha si kain kalai kek pa as hemashe ek he bought hai. I walked over to Apollo and patted him on the shoulder. It's a good thing you have forever to learn my language. A look of recognition passed over Miles as Faye. You're speaking in your mother tongue yet. The look on both of our faces was priceless. How the tables yep. The look on both of your faces was priceless. How the tables turned. I laughed. So you were teasing me? Apollo asked. Maybe, but you so deserved it. I stuck my tongue out. Will you tell me what you were saying? He questioned. Help. I pretended to think about it. Luna will tell me. Miles announced proudly. Oh really? So you'll tell me what you and Dimitri were talking about before then? Luna raised her eyebrows. For the right price. Miles wiggled his eyebrows. I watched as Luna smirked and walked toward Miles, kissing him on his cheek and trailing down to his lips but never kissing them. No sex for a week, Luna said, leaving Miles flustered. What? No, I'll tell you. Miles yelled, causing Luna to laugh and me to shake my head in amusement. Apollo looked at me and said, may just have to take a page out of Luna's book to get what I want. Oh yeah, you think I'm going to be the one who can't survive without sex? It's the other way around. I stuck my tongue out yet again. Stick your tongue out one more time. I dare you. Suddenly the atmosphere seemed more charged as Apollo's eyes were filled with lust. Oh, I knew that look. I could do what he said, but where is the fun in that? Seeing him get all worked up caused me way too much fun and enjoyment. Right in the SRQ to leave you to lovebirds alone, Miles announced, dragging Luna away. Both Apollo and I were focused on each other to realize. His eyes followed my every move while my body tingled with excitement. My eyes looked all over the place, trying to find a way out or some way I could easily escape Apollo. After all, it had been a long time since he had chased me, and this time I was much stronger. Apollo noticed this, and he licked his lips, thinking of running. My queen. Maybe. My king. I smirked. I do enjoy the chase. Be careful, little one. Soon you'll be pinned under me with no means of escape. His eyes pierced my own. I shivered with anticipation, watching his every move. I walked toward the exit and got ready to run. But before I did, there was something I had to do. In a flash, I turned around and stuck my tongue out before darting off. I heard Apollo's growl as I pushed my body to run faster. Feeling the wind on my face was heavenly, and it had been a long time since I could run this freely. This would do both Apollo and me so much good. Apollo was catching up to me, but unlike last time I was going to give up so easily. I used the same technique as last time, running in different directions, but at the same time I was looking for a good hiding place. That's when my eyes found a large tree. I had never managed to climb one before, but it was now or never. Much to my surprise, I grabbed onto the branch and managed to swing myself up. Holy, I actually did it. As I was catching my breath, I heard Apollo and clasped my hands over my mouth. God, he looked so hot. I couldn't help but admire him from here. His muscles were tense, and his plump lips looked so inviting. Snap out of it. Lax me. You don't want him smelling your desire when you did so well at hiding. Apollo rushed in a different direction, and I let out a sigh of relief. Oh yes, finally I managed to fool him. Again, he came back and looked around, confused. It was at that moment an idea popped into my head. It was time for Apollo to get the shock of his life. Taking a deep breath, I jumped down from my hiding place, causing Apollo to jump in shock. He lunged forward to catch me, but I landed on my feet while he lay by my feet with his arms outstretched. I fooled you. I burst out into laughter. Apollo scowled and stood up, brushing off the dirt. So you thought that was funny? His voice was void of any emotion. Immediately I stopped laughing. Maybe I went too far. Guess it's time for your punishment. In no time, his devious smirk was back, and I gasped. Apollo. He wasted no time in picking me up and throwing me over his shoulder. I muttered, "Only a caveman for my very naughty mate," Apollo replied. In a flash, we were back at the palace, and Apollo was walking back to our room at an easterly pace. Once we reached our room, he dropped me on the bed and smirked. "I've got you right where I want you, and we have all the time in the world." He licked his lips as I made my way up the bed. The sexual atmosphere turned me on. I couldn't lie, especially the look in Apollo's eyes. He was so going to devour me. Olivia Estrix won't get me out of this one. Before Apollo pounced on me, the door banged open to reveal a very flustered Miles. Dimitri the phone. HES on the phone. The atmosphere did a complete 180. Apollo's lust-filled eyes and devious smirk were replaced with cold black eyes and a serious EY and ray CCI on. I jumped up off the bed and looked at Apollo in worry. Miles looked back and forth between Apollo and me. Within seconds, Apollo let out a loud growl and stalked toward his study. What the hell was going to happen? Chapter 28. Beckett was already in the office when Apollo stormed in and picked up the phone. The tension in the room was evident. One person was missing, and that was Reese. I looked at Beckett. Who nodded. I guess that meant Reese was coming. What the do you want? Apollo growled. Bradley's sickening laugh was heard. Apollo gripped the phone tighter while both Miles and Beckett clenched their fists. God, his laugh was awful. Is that any way to greet me? Old friend. Bradley's voice sent shivers down my spine. Reese walked in at that very moment and immediately went stiff. This novel will be daily updated, and Elena held his hand for support while Reese stood there. Poor Reese. Hearing his brother's voice after years must be a shock for him. Don't mess with me. What do you want? Apollo's voice was getting louder. I was stood away from Apollo, but Miles decided that wasn't on. He pushed me forward so I bumped into Apollo, throwing a glare to Miles. I turned back to face my angry mate. Apollo took my hand and held onto it for dear life. Still not the most patient person. Are we? I thought having a mate would change that. Bradley tutty in the phone. Apollo growled and pulled me closer to him. This Bradley guy knew exactly what to say to get on Apollo's nerves. And mine too. Everyone must be there. Beckett, Miles, and even my little bro Reese. This is a warning. You played your game all those years ago. Now I'm playing mine. Watch your back because you'll never see me coming. Bradley warned. All the men tensed up and looked at each other. Is that a threat? Apollo spat. No, it's a promise, Bradley replied. Oh, how could I forget? I never said hi to Her Majesty. Did you like your gift? It was my welcome gift to you. Dimitri, I hope you're ready to give up your mate. Bradley laughed. Apollo cowled in hand lit his body was shaking, and his eyes switched to pitch black in seconds. His lycan had taken over. His loud growl caused objects to shake and fall no. He yelled, throwing the phone and narrowly missing Beckett. Before anyone could do anything, Apollo turned and jumped out the window. Lax me, Miles yelled, pulling me away just in time. Glass went everywhere as Apollo smashed through it and landed safely outside. His growl was heard, loud and clear, as he ran off. For a few moments everyone stood there catching their breath and processing what just happened. I had an awful feeling after hearing this bastard speak. He really had no heart and was clearly messed up. This novel will be daily updated at that made him even more dangerous because no one knew what he was even capable of. Beckett was the first one to speak. Right? We need to get this mess cleaned up. Luna, you and Olivia go and find someone to clean this up. The rest of us, we need to talk. I can see why Apollo chose Beckett to be his second in command. Beckett knew exactly what to do. We left the study and walked toward the second study. My lycan was whimpering, begging me to go and find Apollo because she could feel his lycan's pain. As much as I wanted to go, I had to talk to the others. Plus, Apollo needed this time alone. I entered the study and sat down. Everyone looked solemn. "What do you think I'll do?" I asked. Miles sighed. "I have no idea. Bradley is unpredictable and dangerous. His warning is still replaying in my mind. He wants you. He wants to hurt Apollo, just like Apollo hurt him, but in the worst way possible. What better way than to take his mate from him?" Reese stared right at me. An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach as I shook my head. "He can try all he wants, but he won't even lay a finger on me. I won't let him. None of us will. You're too important to Apollo and everyone here. What we need to do is stay cautious at all times. Any important information has to be between us and only us. It won't surprise me if Bradley has a mole giving him information," Beckett explained. "Now what?" Miles asked. "Well, I think I am going to train. I want to make sure the soldiers are ready for an attack any day." Reese stood up, with Elena by his side. "Plus, this is a good distraction." Hearing Bradley's voice, well, it got to me. Reese sighed. "I wouldn't expect anything different." "Man, take care." Beckett patted Reese on the back. When Reese and Elena left, Luna and Olivia walked and so Dimitri. Miles looked at me. "I think he needs this time alone. He's been going through a lot." I replied, "You know this is the first time in a long time that he just left. Before, he just had to run off so his and didn't take over. Since you came, he never needed to because you kept him grounded. But I guess hearing that your old friend wants to hurt your mate would make anyone lose control." Beckett chipped in. "Dimitri takes really long runs," Miles said, "and you'll be waiting for him when he comes back. I know you guys care for him. I can see it in your eyes, but I know he needs this time to think, to gather his thoughts. He needs his space, and I intend to give it to him." I sighed. "You're the best thing that has happened to this kingdom. You don't even realize that what you just said now proves you have a much deeper connection to Dimitri than you think. His feelings mean so much to you, and I respect that." Beckett smiled. "Yeah, me too. Especially since having you here means limit Abish have to be locked up all the time." Miles replied, "We have work to do, especially since Dimitri isn't here. Let's go. I want to make sure patrols are doubled." Beckett looked at Miles. Miles looked at Luna and pouted. Newly mated and already busy. "You'll live." Luna smiled and patted Miles on the shoulder. Beckett just rolled his eyes and dragged Miles away. Now it was just me, Luna, and Olivia left. Olivia sat down next to me and said, "How do you stay so confident?" "Because I believe in Apollo." I shrugged. "We believe in you." Luna smiled. "I don't want our men to feel like they can't bring us into any fight. This novel will be daily updated and we are just as strong as them. So we've got to prove it to them. Hard times are arriving. We need to be there every step of the way for our mates. Give them love and support because that is what will drive them to defeat this son of a bitch." I looked at both girls. Hun nodded. Words of wisdom from the queen herself. Luna winked. I rolled my eyes but smiled. The girls left soon after, deciding to go and find their mates. Apollo walked back. I couldn't sense him. My lycan was pissed at me for not going after Apollo, but I didn't care. Sighing, I stood up and walked out of Apollo's study and headed to my room. It looked like it would be a long night for me. As soon as I entered the room, I had flashbacks of what was going to happen before that bastard decided to ring. Such bad timing now, what? Should I have gone after him? No, he meets this time alone HLV. My mind drifted to Bradley. That man was insane. He blamed Apollo for everything, so it was no surprise to me that HED threatened me. I lay on the bed and turned on the TV, flicking aimlessly through the channels, shaking my head. I turned my attention to the TV and started. 6 episodes later, there was still no sign of Apollo. Now I was beginning to get pissed off. Where the hell was he? If he was planning on staying out for such a long time, and he needed to tell someone, my body wouldn't allow me to sleep. Not until I knew that Apollo was back and he was safe. A gush of wind got my attention, and I turned to see Apollo failing at trying to sneak in. "Where the were you?" I said, causing Apollo to jump. "You're still awake?" he asked, shocked. "No, in sleep talking." I rolled my eyes. "I didn't think you'd be awake." Apollo scratched the back of his neck. "Where did you go?" I tried again. Apollo sighed and sat down on the bed. "I don't know it. I just ran." Hearing that bastard say those words made me want to destroy everything. "Hey, you don't have to explain why you ran. I think it was pretty obvious. I was worried because you were gone for so long." I replied, You know, having someone other than Beckett and Miles care about me is something I never thought I would experience." Apollo smiled sadly. "Apollo." I got up and sat so I was straddling him. "This whole mate thing, it terrified me, and it still does. These feelings are so strong because they are raw. I care for you, and I worry for you. I can't help it. You'll always have me worrying about you, even though you may not always want it." I smiled. "This mate thing is pretty strange, isn't it? I never thought I'd have a mate sitting right here on my lap. When you came into my life so suddenly, I didn't know what to do. So I let me possessive-liking feelings take over. Probably was the best thing." Apollo smiled sheepishly. "Hey, we are still learning. It hasn't been that long since we found out we were mates." I replied. I kissed his cheek, not his tempting lips. "No, because I can't live without you either," I admitted. In a flash, Apollo lifted me up and threw me on the bed. "God, how lucky am I to have you as my mate and queen," he groaned. "Extremely lucky. Obviously, you should be so thankful that I am so smart. This novel will be daily updated." I exaggerated but trailed off, and Apollo crawled up to meet me. And a gorgeous body, sinful lips. Apollo's voice got deeper. "I think it's time to finish what we started." He chuckled. I didn't have time to protest as he captured my lips and slipped his hand down my underwear. Oh God, I had a feeling this was going to be a long night. Chapter 29. It had been another long week and a half since Bradley called, and it was stressful. Nothing had happened yet, which just made things worse. Reese was agitated and took his anger out on Elena, who came crying to me. She said it was getting harder to live with Reese when he snapped at her all the time. I had to explain to her that his feelings toward his brother were clouding his ability to think properly. Reese loved Elena, we all knew that. Elena decided she wanted to go back to our pack and spend some time with her family. I disagreed with her because I knew Reese really needed her, but Elena was not budging, so I told her to let Reese know before going. She promised me that she would, but the very next day, Reese rushed in with a letter from Elena explaining that she had gone back. Reese was distraught. He blamed himself. Elena didn't help as she was answering his calls. I had to step in and call her so Reese could speak. He told her he was so son or why and that he'd come and pick her up. Although Elena had sorted things out with Reese, she still wanted to stay back for a few more days. Reese agreed, to keep her happy. So Elena was due back in 5 days. Reese had been working hard with the wolves and with the men. All for Men had come up with lots of plans for any situation. Apollo refused to take any chances at all. There were several new panic rooms installed throughout the palace, and Apollo implanted new safety procedures. It was a week ago now that I spotted Apollo in his study alone. This novel will be daily updated at 1 week ago. Nothing special had happened today. Apollo and I had a 2-hour training session, and as soon as it was over, he went to his study. It had been the same routine now. Apollo spent most of his time in his study. It was like he didn't want to share his worries with me. I knew he was anxious, and he wanted to make sure that bastard paid for his actions. After I had showered, I decided to go and meet Luna. On the way, I passed Apollo's study. I expected to see all the men in there, but when I peered in, only Apollo was sat there. He held a photograph in his hand and was looking at it sadly. Whose photograph was it? Curiosity got the best of me as I entered Apollo's study. Almost immediately his gaze connected with mine, and he put the picture down. I was about to ask you the same thing. Whose photo is that? I replied. Apollo tensed, and I knew he was about to dismiss it, so I cut him off. Answer truthfully. Don't even think about lying to me. Apollo sighed and motioned for me to come closer. My family. Mom, Dad, and my siblings. You miss them, I guessed. Apollo nodded. I think this whole situation makes me miss them more. Father would have known exactly what to do. Mother would have kept everything in order. And my brother would have been there to make me laugh. My sister, she would just provide her support. I sat on his lap and held his face in my hands. Hide that from me. Yeah, I guess I am not used to sharing everything that. This is all still new to me. Apollo chuckled. Well, I'll wish. It's a good thing we're stuck with each other. We have many years to learn. I smiled. Apollo nodded and laughed. So tell me about your family. Where are they now? I asked. You know. I had a normal childhood. I had no idea about being the king or even being a prince. Mother wanted us three to have a normal childhood. And she succeeded with that. It was only when I got older did I realize what was expected of me. Training started, and it was vigorous and long. My siblings, especially my brother, used to hate it. Me training meant I didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted with them. Mother and father, on the other hand, just wanted me to complete my training so they could leave. As soon as father deemed me fit to be king, he passed the title down to me and left with mother. I don't blame them. Being a king or a queen is a tough job. Unfortunately, I have no idea where they are. But my siblings, I miss them a lot. Damien, my brother, lives in England now. He left as soon as I turned king. He has always said that he wanted nothing to do with royalty. My little sister Riley, the youngest of us, she is a spitfire. She always rebelled against father, and never liked the rules and what was expected of her as a princess. Riley was very opinionated, and her voice would be heard. It was only 4 days before I was crowned king that she met her mate. A human. Riley took that as her chance to escape. She left with her mate the day after I was crowned to live with him. I haven't heard from her since. Nor Damien. Both my siblings are living their lives on terms, without a worry in the world, Apollo explained. Hearing all that was a shock to me. Apollo's family had always been a mystery since it was only him who remained at the palace. Looking at him, I could tell how upset he was that his family was here, but I could also see happiness. Apollo loved his siblings but valued their happiness above his own. I kissed Apollo softly on the lips. You always have me. Apollo smiled and kissed me back. I know. I can't seem to get rid of you. I rolled my eyes. Whatever. An idea popped into my head, and I asked, Hey, why don't you ring your siblings and ask them to come here? Apollo looked unsure. I don't want to ruin their lives by asking them. Apollo, they won't be moving back for good. It would just be a visit. Plus, they're your siblings. They won't say no. I tried to connive him. Apollo still looked unsure. No, leave it. I don't want to disturb them. They are living their lives. I was about to argue, but Apollo shook his head. So I closed my mouth. You'll be back. I just need to check on Reese. Will you stay here and keep me company? Apollo asked. I nodded. This novel will be daily updated out of course. You go and check on Reese. It'll be on my phone anyway. This novel will be daily updated at Apollo kissed my forehead before lifting me and placing me on his chair. As soon as he walked out, I glanced at the photograph of his family. It was time someone did something for Apollo. And that someone was me. Present right now. Everyone was sitting in Apollo's study. I swear his study should be our second home since we are always in here. No surprise that I was sitting on Apollo's lap as he was discussing issues with the others. I glanced at Neva, who faked a VWN. Same. Girl. Same. Olivia was on her phone, so she didn't see us. Don't get me wrong. We cared about these issues, but hearing about the same issues every single day was getting tiring. Apollo was talking about security. Increasing guards yet again. Increasing patrols. Again. He believed a slip-up would be when Bradley attacked, but he didn't want to give him that opportunity. I was about to ask for a 5-minute break when Apollo tensed. I quickly stood up as Apollo looked at me with an accusatory gaze, but I just shrugged my shoulders. The door opened and in walked the carbon copy of Apollo, although his hair was a lighter and his eyes shone with mischief. Brother. Damien Gray made his presence known. Apollo looked at his younger brother in shock, but before he could even say anything, behind Damien, a woman entered. She was gorgeous, inheriting her mother's blue eyes. No hug, Damien asked. Riley rolled her eyes and made her way over to Apollo. Thank your mate. She called us here. Suddenly lots of pairs of eyes looked at me. The only pair of eyes I was focused on was Apollo's. He looked at me with happiness, and that warmed me. I knew I had done the right thing. It is so good to see you both. How have you been? Apollo asked, pulling a seat for his sister. She sat down with a huff whereas Damien still had that infectious grin. We don't want to talk about us. We want to talk about the fact that our big bro finally has a mate. He winked at me, making me laugh. Apollo shook his head. Some things never change. Well, I have a son now. A son? When? How Apollo spluttered. When? About 3 months ago now. His name is Michael. I don't think I need to explain the biology behind it. Apollo, it isn't like you haven't had any practice. Riley rolled her eyes. My eyes widened with shock, while Luna and the others laughed. But why didn't you call earlier? It was hard to miss the hurt in Apollo's voice. Riley sighed. You know why. If I said I was pregnant, the stupid council would demand me back here and make my son be the next king. I don't want that. The mention of the council had everyone growling. Even Damien Eskrin was replaced with a sour look. It seemed the council wasn't very favorable among the Gray siblings. A bunch of old pricks who have sticks up their asses. Damien growled. We're here to help you in your fight. In whatever way you need us. Plus, a family reunion was long overdue. Damien said, looking at me. Thank you both. Having you here means so much to me. Apollo smiled at his siblings. Damien turned his gaze on me. So you're the one who made my brother wait for so long. At Apollo. Gross. Newly mated lycans are the worst. Riley pretended to gag, but I could see her genuine happiness shining in her eyes. You were no better. Thank God you left so we didn't have to witness it. Damien teased dryly. Shut up. Riley poked her tongue out. Apollo laughed at his siblings. Seeing him this happy and not having to worry about Bradley was amazing. Hey, I want to see what you've done with the place. The royal tour, please. Damien asked. As the king. I am pretty busy, but I have some free time for you. Apollo teased. Wow, I am so honored. Damien rolled his eyes. You just want to see what Apollo has done to your bedroom. Right. Riley looked at her brother. This novel will be daily updated at Stop Exposing Me. Damien complained. Come on, you two. I'll show you how I've made this place much better. Apollo stood up. None of us joined the 3 siblings as they left the study, laughing and joking. It was time for these 3 to have some quality time together. Chapter 30. Apollo came back with his siblings in a much better mood. Riley left, saying she needed to go and see her son. She promised that she would introduce us to little Michael. Damien was more interested in how Apollo works. He sat on a chair and questioned Beckett and Miles. How many tables has he broke? Miles groaned. Too many to count. Too many. Damien laughed. Some things never change. Do they? Even after all these years. You still haven't broken out of that bad habit. Old habits die hard. Apollo shrugged. Damien's reply was cut off by the phone ringing. Everyone suddenly tensed. The last time someone rang this phone, it was to warn us. Apollo clenched his jaw and picked up the phone, placing it on speaker. King Dimitri, an unknown voice said. Well, it was unknown to me. but the tense expressions on the men's faces told me they knew exactly who it was. Councilman Harrison. To what do I owe this pleasure? This novel will be daily updated at Apollo gritted out. I noticed that Damien was also tense, glaring at the phone like it was his worst enemy. Well, it has come to our attention that there have been 2 deaths in the past month and that they have been caused by someone who was once close to you. This councilman said, Yes, I am well aware. Have you called to tell me any useful information? Apollo asked. Not exactly. I have called to warn you that all of us have decided that if you slip up once more, meaning if you cannot catch this murderer in the next week, then we will remove you from the throne. Councilman Harrison sounded smug. And who would replace my brother me? Because I have made my intention very clear before Councilman Harrison. I have 0 intentions of being king. Damien made his presence known. Ah, Prince Damien, you finally have returned. It will soon be time to step up and take over your brother. This councilman needed a slap. This time I growled and snatched the phone. Listen here, you piece of shit. First, you try and get my mate to take another female as his mate. Now you threaten to remove him from the throne. Let me tell you something. Apollo is king, not you. And so your words mean absolutely nothing. You've just wasted our time. Time that should have been spent trying to find this criminal. If I find out that you are purposely trying to stall us or cause Apollo to fail, then I will show you why I am queen. I didn't give him a chance to say anything as I threw the phone against the wall. Both my lycan and I felt satisfied watching it smash into little pieces. Another phone. Smashed. This is why you two are perfect for each other. Miles groaned, wow. You really are perfect for my brother. Damien smiled at me. Apollo looked at me in awe before picking me up and throwing me over his shoulder. Apollo, put me down. You big brute. I struggled. Everyone off my floor. Now, Apollo yelled. He made his way to our bedroom before placing me on the bed. Do you know how sexy that was? Apollo groaned. I know. Words failed me as I looked at the lustful gaze of Apollo. You're a little spitfire. Apollo chuckled. I'm not little. I pouted. Apollo captured my lips, causing me to moan. You've got me all worked up. Apollo placed my hand on his growing bulge. Tingles shot straight to my core. Apollo smirked. I think someone else is worked up. He whispered in my ear. I could fix that. I swallowed the lump in my throat before replying. You sure? I was tempting the beast, but I found myself enjoying it. Apollo growled and laid me down, ripping my underwear off. You're a little minx. Plus, it's been a while since I've had a taste. Shit. I clutched the bed sheets as Apollo attacked my core. His skilled tongue knew exactly what to do, and it wasn't long before I was moaning and begging for my release. And what do you want? Apollo teased. Apollo, I was not in the mood. I can't hear you. Little wet, little one. Apollo smirked against my core. I want you to make me come. Happy. I growled. Apollo's answer was giving me what I so desired. He lapped up all my juices before leaving my core alone. Very. He smirked. Damn him. He had me right where he wanted me. Time for the main show. He winked at me. I licked my lips as Apollo in rest. Slowly. He was doing this on purpose. This novel will be daily updated at hurry up before I tear those clothes off myself. I growled. He chuckled. Impatient. Are we? I rolled my eyes. Remind me next time to unrest slowly when you're turned on. Then you'll see what I mean. Apollo opened his mouth to reply, but a loud growl made us both freeze. I looked at Apollo, who looked tense, who growled. Oh man, why am I always the one to get you? Miles's familiar voice complained my leggings back on. Something lost right both Apollo and I sensed this, which is why we didn't tease Miles. Guys, you better come quick. Isn't good. Miles's solemn voice made my red water run cold. Apollo gripped my hand as we rushed out to see what the hell was going on. I knew something was wrong. Beckett and Miles looked incredibly tense while Olivia and Luna tried to comfort them by standing close to them and holding their hands. Okay. Something was seriously wrong to get everyone worked up. What the is going on? And who growled? Apollo looked at his best friends. Beckett sighed and motioned for us to follow him. Yet again we ended up in Apollo's study. Beckett picked up the phone and dialed a number. He left it on speaker and waited. Both Apollo and I looked at each other in confusion. But that soon left when we heard the familiar voice of Bradley. Apollo. You decided not to answer by mistake. Friend, I have someone very special here. Elena Ross. Name ring any bells? I think she's my little brother's made a pretty little thing too. Now ring me back in 30 minutes or she's dead. Get talk. Old friend. Oh no. This bastard took Elena, how dare he? I'll skin him alive. Apollo was tense, gripping onto my hand like it was his only support. That growl was Reese. I sighed. It made sense. Beckett nodded sadly. He came with me when I saw a voicemail on your phone. Needless to say, he lost control and took off. Damien has gone after him, just to make sure he doesn't harm anyone. How long? Apollo asked. I think we have 10 minutes left. Beckett replied. Apollo ran his hands through his hair. We've got this. I squeezed his hand. 27. Apollo nodded and picked up the phone. He rang back the number that Bradley dialed on, and it didn't take long for the smug bastard to answer. The man, himself. Cutting it fine. Apollo. Bradley answered. Apollo growled. I rang you before your time limit. Don't you dare harm Elena. Protective. Are we? What does your mate have to say about that? Bradley asked if you even touch a hair on her head. I'll skin you alive. You bastard. I spat. Oh, feisty. Are we? Clearly you care for this lycan a lot. Bradley chuckled. What the do you want? Apollo was having a hard time controlling himself. I'll be at your territory very shortly. I will walk in. And no one will harm me because if they do, I'll snap Elena's neck so quickly that you won't be able to save her. Bradley warned. This novel will be daily updated at knowing this guy. He would follow through on his promise. I knew that and Apollo did too, which is why he released a deep breath and said, Fine. No one will harm you. Good. I guess it'll be seeing you shortly. Old friend. Remember, anyone even attempts to harm me shall be dead. Bradley said before hanging up. I looked at Apollo, who looked at me with anger in his eyes. This will be dead before a week is up. It is time for him to meet his end. I nodded. We are all with you. Apollo looked at Becca and Miles. Tell the guards to stand down when Elena. I'll get in contact with Damien. Reese needs to be here. Beckett said. Apollo nodded. Yes, but he also needs to be restrained. Have some guards as backup. I don't want him to do anything stupid that could harm himself for Elena. A ringtone broke us all out of our own thoughts. It was my phone. Sighing. I answered, seeing Darius' name pop up. Smiley. Darius didn't even wait for me to say hello. Darius? We know. Elena's been taken. I guess that was why Darius rang yes. God, I am so sorry. We had more guards. But these guys are lycans. It was hard. Darius seemed frustrated with himself. Hey, you can't be blaming yourself. Bradley would have purposely targeted the pack when it was at its weakest in terms of defense and security. The main thing is that everyone else is safe. I replied. Yes, everyone else is safe. The bastard knew what he wanted. And he got it. Darius growled. Elena will be back in the arms of her mate soon enough. I reassured Darius. I know you all will do whatever is necessary. But we are coming. Me and a few others. Kate will stay here, but I need to make sure Elena is safe. Darius said, I know you all will do whatever is necessary. But we are coming. Me and a few others. Kate will stay here, but I need to make sure Elena is safe. Darius said. I was about to argue, saying it was dangerous, but Apollo put a hand on my shoulder and shook his head. Sighing, I answered, Fine. Please stay safe. I will. You stay safe. Durai ascended the call. Little one, you need to let him come. His wolf feels responsible for Elena's situation. He needs reassurance that she is safe. Don't forget he is an alpha as well as a close friend to Elena and you. Apollo explained. 71. I nodded sadly. No, I just don't want him hurt. 119. He won't be. Darius is a strong person. Apollo kissed me on the forehead. He held my hand as we walked downstairs. Now it's time to meet the devil.